You're at your old trusty boat. You call mighty Sparrow. I'm in the city of Mardi Gras.
Welcome to the Sailing into Oblivion podcast. I'm your host, Jerome Rand, and this is where we sit down with everyday people who do extraordinary things. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show this lovely Sunday evening. I don't know if that's the day that you might be listening, but anyway, that's the day I'm recording this. I get to sit down with now officially friend of the show, Russ, aboard his sailing yacht Nutmeg, and it's a Cape Dory 36. He's been out in the Penobscot with his lovely wife for the summer, and now it's been hauled out and basically winterized and ready to go. And so Russ just sits down with me. We talk about how the summer went and a few of the ups, a few of the downs, and a few of the adventures and so on. So without further ado, we've got Russ here. And before I start the show, as usual, to say, if you want to support the show, you can head over to Patreon. Just follow the link in the description and become one of my illustrious crew members, which is fantastic. Thank you all for your continued support as usual. And if you just want to reach out to the show with questions or comments, you can head over to sailingintooblivion.com and email me directly from there. So here we go with Russ. Nice. Russ, welcome back to the show.
Well, thank you.
Post summer season on the Penobscot.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
How did things end up going?
Great. Well, we had a couple of issues, but other than that, things were fine.
And it was, I'm trying to remember when we launched you. It was pretty early. It was in early June, right?
Yeah, it was cold. When we were launched, it was bitter cold.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was a little chip before the heat wave really took over.
But after that, then it was nice.
Oh, very
and
cool.
Stuff. Well, we did catch a lobster pot on our prop.
That was the big excitement, right?
And spun it off. Well, the bigger excitement was the hospitalization.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe we'll get into that. Who knows? We'll see. That was a bit of a nerve-wracking time for all of us, Russ, because you're part of the family.
Right.
Here,
but it was, it wasn't bad. I give kudos to Penn Bay. They did a great job. And
they were the ones that got you the diver and all that sort of stuff?
No, Penn Bay was the throat.
Oh, the throat. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
The hospital down there was good.
Well, let's start, I guess, from maybe the beginning, I guess. So we launch you, and you guys are sort of hanging loose. What sort of stuff are you doing just to, I guess, prepare the boat? Is it mostly just cleaning and organizing and provisioning?
Yeah, it's just seeing where, make sure everything goes. We do a test sail to make sure we got all the lines in the right holes and
yeah, right.
Not crossed or anything.
Halyard doesn't look right.
It's like you got to run up that sail and it's like, oh, wait a minute, there's two sheets are crossed or something.
Are those mouse holes in there?
That's right. But and it's just sort of getting used to being on the boat again.
Well, and this was how many seasons is this now for you up here?
6.
6?
I believe.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
So you have pretty much your known sort of haunts that you like to go and find, and
yeah, well, we try to go to old places and we try to go to new places every year.
Did you find any new sort of spectacular spots?
Well, I don't know about spectacular, but we did find some new spots.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hadn't ever been to Castine. We hadn't ever been to Belfast.
Oh, okay.
So we made a point of going to those places just because we said, you
got to explore a little bit.
Yeah, right. And just try them and see, even if, Castine wasn't that great, but.
Just sort of bland or?
Well, no, we took a mooring there, and the current in there is like really amazing.
Oh, it's ripping.
Yeah. I mean, the mooring ball, and we're talking about a monster mooring ball, went underwater.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And I forget, it's a 38-foot Cape Dory?
36.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then we spent Belfast. We have friends in Belfast, so.
That's always fun.
Yeah. So we went there and saw them, and then we sort of meandered back, and we tended to go out for a week or 2 weeks and then come back.
Yeah, because this Rockland's always been your sort of home base.
Yeah.
That's where you keep the car here and all that sort of stuff.
Right. And
You know-
it's tough because we get into Rockland sometimes and we find it hard to leave Rockland.
Yeah, well, it's because it's really convenient. The home base definitely has that sort of feel sometimes, especially
Yeah.
as a boater, and with the added thing of having your car here, I think that's always sort of like, I don't want to,
Well,
I
it's
can't make the
it's more
run to
like
the store.
there's like, we met somebody and they want to do something one more day. Okay, we'll stay one more day.
Right,
And then the next thing you know, it's like, oh well, if we're gonna stay that one day, maybe we should just stay that next day so we can do the thing the third day.
Yeah,
You know, and next thing you know, you've been here a week.
You're just like,
And it's like, man, we just got to get out of here.
Yeah, you're looking at the clock. Hey, it's actually almost August here, and we haven't done anything yet.
So then we went out. We went straight out to Acadia.
Oh,
which turned out
that's
to be
right.
the
Okay.
best thing we could have done. Because
how far north is that, or east is it to get there from here?
I have no idea. It's like it's 2 days.
2 days. 2 days sail to get there.
Yeah. You could probably do it in a day. I don't know, but be a long day.
Yeah.
It's like 50 or 60 miles.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And normally, we go in August. You have to you go into Northeast Harbor. You have to fight for moorings.
Mm-hmm.
And this time we walked right in. There was no problem with the mooring. Tons of moorings available.
And it's all. Can you when you get up there, do you check in? I guess because I've never been there, so I don't know exactly. Like as a newbie, because I do intend one day to be able to sort of cruise this whole Maine coast for a summer instead of working, carrying heavy equipment around and stuff.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you just go up there. What is it, like a dock you check in with, or does somebody come out?
No, Northeast Harbor is all moorings. I mean, they do have slips, but I've never been interested in a slip. But you can't reserve them, so it's first come, first serve.
Nice, I like that.
And well, except for the fact that there's very limited number and it's very busy.
Well, yeah.
So
I wouldn't go during the peak season anyway. I think I would try and.
Well, that's what we found was 4th of July. They had only opened the week before.
Oh, really?
And,
okay.
And what's nice about like Northeast Harbor is the bus goes right there. So you get a bus from there and you take it into the park.
Oh,
and
yeah.
You go anywhere.
Right.
So we took this, we met this guy and he said, oh yeah, the bus driver actually, we were asking him for things. And he says, oh, the bubbles. He says, you go there and you go to Jordan Pond, you walk along the thing. He says, and then you scramble up these rocks and you'll be at the top of the bubbles. It's great. Well, as it turns out, this is like the second most dangerous tourist attraction in the world.
Nice.
We're scrambling up these rocks. And the next thing I know, I'm looking over the side of this cliff and it's like 200-300 feet down, and the rock is just like sloping gently that way.
I'm just gonna go to the edge, get a good shot.
And I'm thinking as I'm climbing up, I says I can go up this, but there's no way I'm going down this one,
right?
And stuff. But sure enough, I get to the top, and there's an easier way down. But
oh, that's funny.
But that was fun. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And the whole Acadia, and then we took the bus. We went to Bar Harbor one day, and then walked along the coast to all the different Thunder Hole and
all the main attractions.
Yeah, the main attractions. They're right there. And then you take the bus back to your boat, and it's all free.
And are the moorings sort of spread out throughout sort of the whole, because there's a lot of coastline that makes up that park, isn't it? No, it's all right there.
Northeast Harbor, there's Southwest Harbor, which is where Hinckley is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And stuff. Hinckley has like 70 transient moorings, so typically you can get
some of. What are they costing up there?
$40.
$40 a night.
Yeah,
I guess that's pretty.
It's pretty standard.
Pretty
nowadays.
Standard at this point.
Yeah. But that was nice. In that we went there before it got busy.
Yeah.
I mean the park was busy, but not super busy. But the marinas weren't. They were just getting going.
Well, I would think August must be the absolute pinnacle.
Oh yeah.
The
second, third week in August is when everybody goes on vacation.
Right, exactly. And it's going to be this year it was 90 degrees, I'm sure, up there.
Right.
Which is kind of nice, when you're on this picturesque Maine sort of coastline, and the water's only 58 degrees.
Yeah, you're
If it's
sitting on your
90
boat.
out, you're like, let's go swimming.
Yeah, well, you're sitting on your boat, the gentle breeze blowing over the water. It's just not that, I talked to my brother and he goes, it's 104 here.
Oh,
I said, well, I
jeez.
have a sweater on.
Wow, I can remember talking to Elaine and saying, on some of those really hot days, I think this was when you were in the hospital and she was out there, and it was amazing because when you just went out to the mooring, the temperature drop was awesome. I mean,
Right.
I think I took her out in the launch one day and I couldn't believe the temperature difference just from the wind sweeping over that little bit of water.
But just sitting, you're sitting out on the boat and it's just like, oh, this is pretty comfortable. You got a long sleeve shirt on and stuff. And, and you come into shore and it's like, oh my God, it's hot in
and
here.
there's dust blowing around. We even had what I akin to tumbleweeds. We were doing so much weed whacking this year. Some of the little bushes were sort of blowing over the last few days. Russ is like, what is this place? But hey, it's been an unusual summer. That's for sure. Ah, well, that's cool. That's good to know that that's sort of a neat spot, and you definitely want to get there before the crowds.
Before the crowds. And then we came back from there. We went to Frenchboro, which is always kind of a nice.
Where is that?
South of Swans Island. It's on the way back from there.
Not only will the listeners need a atlas, but or a chart. I guess I should probably have one right here too.
I forget what the name of the island is now. But anyway, Frenchboro, there's some really nice hiking there. It's part of the Acadia Park.
Oh, okay.
And stuff. There's normally a restaurant there, Lund's Lobster House, but they weren't open this year. So.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, but
is that the only restaurant there?
Oh yeah.
Oh, really?
It's the only thing
like
in town.
Empty spot. Yeah.
And then we went from there. That's when we went up through Casco Passage. We caught a lobster pot.
Yeah. Now, you don't have, what sort of prop setup do you have for preventing that? Because I mean, when you're cruising in Maine for a long time, usually people try and, I don't know, prepare for it. I know I don't have anything. I don't have one of those little cutters. Obviously don't have a cage or anything like that.
Yeah.
I usually don't worry about the actual prop on this boat because of the shape of the keel. It's more Mongo and the wind vane.
That's exactly what I thought too. I have a full keel with a protected rudder encased in front of the rudder.
Yeah.
And stuff. So I was like, you can't catch them on these. Well,
so you just plow right over them.
Well,
in the
normally,
past.
but it's actually a big prop. So I think the prop tended to suck one of them in.
Oh, okay.
And we went over it. We heard the clunk, 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 and then the the buoy popped up.
Yeah.
So I said, "No, we're good." And we kept on motoring, and then finally we decided to go sailing, and we got through Casco Passage. We were going to go sailing, and the minute we started sailing, all of a sudden I hear this clank, clank, clank. Well, the prop had fallen off, and the rudder was the only thing holding it on.
That's so crazy because thinking about that rudder up against this prop that's sort of dangling on the end of your prop shaft. You were really lucky not to have to lose that prop, right?
And then we managed to sail up to Wooden Boat, where we sailed onto a mooring.
Nice. Seamanship. I like that.
And then from there, I dove on it and saw what was going on. There was still line wrapped around it and everything. But unfortunately, I had a spare key.
Oh, for the prop shaft?
For the prop shaft.
Yeah.
So put that on, and I tied the prop on with just line.
Oh, what, you dove down on it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cold.
Oh, I'm sure it was cold.
But then we couldn't find the shaft nuts. The shaft nuts had
just spun right off. But you said the cotter pin was still in there, right?
Still there.
Yeah, it just wheeled right over it.
Yeah, that sort of was disconcerting when I saw that. I was like,
Well, and that, obviously it's something you don't think of because I mean, normally on all sailboats you've got two big nuts that lock that sucker in. I mean, when I took my prop off, after I took the nuts off, I mean, I still had to pound on the prop to get it off.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, if you're putting that torque, especially from forward to reverse, and then wrapping something around it, yeah, I mean, it can break that sort of
Well,
stuff free.
the other thing is last time I took my prop off, I put anti-seize.
Russ,
I know, thinking
jeez.
that I'm going to save myself some trouble the next time I do.
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, so anyway, the prop's banging around out there, and we can't find shaft nuts. Wooden Boat didn't have any. Brooklyn Boatyard didn't have any.
Oh, right.
I said,
Jeez.
how can I got 5 of them sitting at home.
Yeah.
And so we ended up having to order them from Hamilton's. And,
Yeah, get them brought
and
out.
we were gonna be hauled out. They were gonna tow us over to Brooklyn Boatyard and haul us out. But the guy said, wait a minute. He says, I'll just get you a diver.
Yeah.
And he arranged the whole diver, and the diver came, and 15 minutes later, he says, you're good to go.
See, that says something about, I think, the businesses up here, you know, they could have definitely taken advantage of that situation.
Well, I think for them it was hauling me over there and hauling me out was going to be a big pain in the butt for them.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt it. But it was also going to be a paycheck.
Well,
really.
yeah, right.
You know, because a haul out's typically what, 500, right?
Yeah,
Something
short haul out. Yeah,
short
it'd
haul.
be fine. But anyway, so he got me the diver for $80.
Nice
stuff, and that was nice. A nice guy. He put it off. We went.
You put a bigger cotter pin in there?
Nope, we can't.
Same size. You had it maxed out.
Yeah, the hole was the same size.
Okay. And I'd still spun over that.
Yeah, I know. It's pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing to see the cotter pin still there.
Yeah, right.
About the only thing I can think of is maybe the nuts had disintegrated somehow.
Oh, right. Yeah, if they were really old and the threads
weren't really old. They were pretty new.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about metals in salt water.
Right.
You never know. Something goes weird.
Maybe they just sort of broke when they hit it or something.
Well, and what did you think about when Dave was talking about, because typically it's one nut that's large and one nut that's sort of skinny.
Yeah.
And that's pretty standard. I mean, it seems like it's what I see on all the props.
Well,
that's what I had on mine.
I don't have enough room for 2 big nuts.
Right. Well, but he had said, didn't he say that the big nut goes on first
yeah.
and it was reversed?
Right. But I've taken them off and put it back the right way.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Do you think it was that way before this all happened?
Yeah.
So it was big nut?
Yes. That's the way I would have done it because I put it on the last time.
Oh, right. Oh, you put it on.
I put it on.
Well, I think we've
and when he
solved our query. No.
when he put it on, of course, the shaft sink was right there.
Yeah.
So he couldn't tighten it all the way. He tightened it as far as he could, but it still had a wobble to the prop.
Oh, really?
And it was interesting because we were worried about did I bend the shaft?
Yeah.
And stuff. Of course, it's only an 18-inch shaft.
Still though, it's a pain. You got to replace
so the first thing we did, we took off and powered it up, and hey, the thing runs smoother than it ever has.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so if we did bend it, we straightened it.
Yeah, right. Well, I was taught a trick. If you wanted to find out if your prop shaft was out of alignment, when you're out of the water, you just take like a little stick or whatever, pencil, and you can hold it right up next to one of the bottoms of the blades, and you can just turn the blade.
Oh.
And you'll be able to see just how close it is, because it should be. You keep it like a millimeter away.
They should all be the same. Yeah.
They should all be the same.
Yeah. I have to try that.
Yeah. It's one of those things though where if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right. I know.
If it's off a half a millimeter, you might not want to just tear everything apart.
So I had that was all torn apart on my boat before. I had to replace the cutlass bearing and.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna leave under your advisement. So if it goes totally pear-shaped, I'm calling you up.
Good luck with that.
I'm gonna leave the cutlass bearing alone. Everything does feel pretty much okay.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just gonna rebed the 2 bolts that I undid and put the prop back on. Hopefully though, I did meet this gentleman who we got to talking. He was just up here taking the ferry, and he was telling me that he used to have a sailboat and he had this low RPM alternator, and he's never used it. It's for essentially you would put a little belt strap on the prop shaft, so you let it freewheel,
Oh.
And even at low RPMs, the alternator will kick in and start
really?
cranking out. Because I hate the fact that this boat freewheels. I mean, I go as far as to crawl over the hot engine after I shut it off and put a pipe wrench on it. Because with the old, and I don't know if it's a velvet drive transmission as far as I understand, but
So the reverse doesn't do it?
reverse doesn't stop the engine or stop the freewheeling.
Oh.
So it's just going to spin. And I don't know if it's just that the transmission's, next to dead, or if that's just the way it's designed. But outside of making some sort of hydraulic clamp,
Right.
the pipe wrench was the easiest solution, but it's a real pain. I don't want to do it. I hate doing
Yeah.
it. And then if I want to fire the engine up real fast, I have to go in there and pull it off
Right.
and all that sort of
Yeah, right.
stuff. And
You have to remember to do that.
yeah, exactly. I forgot one time, and all I
that
heard,
would have been fun.
yeah, I mean, I turned it on, and it's not like, I started the boat in gear or anything,
Right.
but sort of the vibration or whatever of everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, all I heard was clunk, 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 and the engine died. And I was like, oh, the pipe wrench.
Right.
But I forgot where I was going with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, off into the weeds.
That's right.
It's all good. But yeah, I guess so. I don't know. It'd be kind of interesting because if I do get that to fit some sort of, I don't know, little belt disc or something that the belt can go from the alternator.
Yeah, it'd just be at least making electricity while you're doing it.
I mean, could you imagine? That'd be pretty cool. Because then, I used to always think when there was one season down in the Caribbean where I had a little windmill generator, and people had always told me the noise will just drive you crazy and all sorts of stuff. And yeah, there were definitely times where I shut it off at night when I was trying to sleep. But when it would be like wheeling away, I'd be looking at is my voltmeter.
Right.
Going, oh, I'm getting a lot of juice. Better turn up the refrigerator.
Yeah, right.
We're making ice tonight. Yeah.
Well, that's the trouble is like up here in Maine, the wind dies at night.
Yeah.
So it's like especially when you want it going, it's not going. So they're not worth anything up here.
Yeah, it's.
But in the Caribbean,
down there it's 24/7.
Right. So
I would be just. I can remember a few times, and I bought the cheapest one, which I just didn't have the money to get anything nice. But I can remember it's, typically these things will try to have sort of a cutoff so they don't blow up your batteries.
Oh yeah.
But there were plenty of times where I woke up and and it's humming away, it's gusting, maybe there's a squall coming in. And I look over at the little meter and it's saying like 16.2 volts. I'm like, whoa, we're gonna shut that thing off.
Right.
I'm like, oh man, I must have gassed off a huge amount of the battery acid at this point.
So
I don't know, ups and downs of that sort of stuff. But I don't know, those kind of adventures, that's cool that you were able to it didn't end up really badly, you on the rocks or anything like that.
No, that's why we have a sailboat,
Nice.
Because that's what you can do.
That's what you can do and not panic. I mean, because that is sort of a situation because exactly when did you realize? Was it just as soon as you shut the engine down?
No,
and could hear the noise.
No, we heard, we were sailing along and we didn't know what it was.
Oh, did you think it was like a lobster pot? Like
well, we had no idea, and we kept turning the tiller to see if we could knock it off and stuff.
Luckily, you didn't.
Right.
And so you're hearing the noise, and then what was sort of the idea at that point?
Well, the idea was, I guess I can't start the motor now.
Smart. Okay.
And so we just decided, of course, we had to beat into the wind.
Yeah.
To get up to, so we set some sail. I set the stay sail and the mainsail.
Mm-hmm.
So because it's self-tending, so we can tack. So we were doing a lot of short tacks going up Egmog and Reach.
Yeah.
And then till we got up to the wooden boat, and then sailed around in there for a second till we could get to a mooring, and sailed up to the mooring, got it.
First try?
No.
Oh, that's all right. It doesn't matter. Hey, as long as you catch it in the end, that's what counts.
Well, my wife got scared a couple times, and she thought we were just pulling it up under motor. And so like, I was like, we got within like 10 feet of it, and then the sails caught again and blew off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, well, you got to keep going. And she was like, oh,
Well, remember, she probably will listen to this, so maybe
Yeah, I
let's
know.
retell that story. We were up there, and she was fighting through, and
No, she's actually been very good. She's great under motor.
yeah.
And that's her job under motor. She's much better at it than I am. So
Well, but sail, that again, under sort of the concept of seamanship and stuff, that's
yeah, well,
you guys were able to get it done without, slamming into other boats. I mean, that was one of the interesting things I sort of felt, and I'm not trying to judge any of the sailors down south in the intercoastal and all that sort of stuff, but it seemed like pulling the trigger on calling tow US or tow boat or
yeah,
whatever was like a hair trigger. Like it was
right,
just like something went wrong. Pick up that cell phone and call. And I think to some degree that's a smart decision because if for whatever reason you can fix it, you can call them back and say we don't need you.
right.
You probably still get a bill in the mail, I would
That's
assume.
right.
But no, I don't know. Up here, I guess I don't feel like you can just call anybody at any moment. You
Well,
definitely
it's
have to fend for
not as
yourself a
easy,
bit.
yeah, because they're not that close.
Yeah,
For
exactly.
one, but that's why I like working on my own boat. Is something goes wrong, I know how to fix it now.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and yeah, getting to know your boat and feeling that confidence that comes with
Yeah.
tearing apart systems and then putting them back together and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. Do they have had things gone really pear-shaped, like let's say the prop wedged itself in and now you lost steerage as well? What would you do in that situation?
Well, it depends, I guess, on where the rudder was locked. But you can steer
Hard to starboard.
hard to starboard. Well, then we would have been sailing in circles probably. But
Right. And then what would you have done? I
well,
mean,
we can steer it with the sails. I've done that before.
yeah,
It's trickier.
give that a go.
Yeah, give that a
Let's
go.
say
Try.
that's,
And then
not working.
there's always the anchor.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Nice. We're
so
going through the steps. See, I'm just peeling back the layers of your wisdom here. And it's beautiful because it is. Those are the basically the steps. Yeah. I mean, if you can't work it with plan A, you go to plan B.
Right.
And then plan C, yeah, the anchor. I mean, you drop sail and you throw the anchor down. At least you're not drifting onto the rocks.
Right. Or you hopefully you can actually have enough line to anchor wherever you are.
Yeah, well, yeah. Because Penobscot it's decently deep.
Well, it can be, yeah. But then, if you get into get in the side, get some mud, and then at least you got a chance to assess.
Yeah.
Get in there saying, well, what's going on? And if I have to dive in to see what's going on and stuff, you can do that.
And then worst case scenario, you're bumping off of rocks and you think maybe there's water coming in. Who do you call?
Well, I don't know.
The nearest village.
That's right.
The nearest marina or anything like that. Because I mean, when is the point where you call the Coast Guard, I guess?
Well, yeah, I heard several Coast Guard calls this summer. The famous one was the 47-foot Sabre up here.
Oh, yeah.
The guy poked a hole right through the bottom. And that was pretty interesting. Listen to him talk about how it's going to go down now. And we're in the dinghy.
Yeah, we're in the dinghy.
I was like, we're in the dinghy?
We cannot see the boat anymore.
But fortunately they made it. But
well, accidents are bound to happen.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what. But I always want to instill a bit of, I don't know, confidence in people. Because I know there's a lot of people that want to do some of these things
right.
that you and I sort of take for granted as everyday cruising sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But taking that first step to get there can be a little bit intimidating, rightfully so.
Yeah,
and it has to be approached, I think, with caution for sure. But I do believe that, people can and usually do rise to the occasion when these little snafus happen.
Well, there's not that many people dying out there. So
that's true. Yeah.
So they get through it, however they happen to do it.
Right.
Even if it's like flagging down the next boat and stuff.
Well, and that's definitely one of the nice parts. And I equate that with the BVI, as far as, these are cruising grounds where there's a lot of boaters. And
Yeah.
in some instances, yeah, you might want to have the whole place to yourself, but it's also kind of nice to have that safety in numbers thing
Right.
where, yeah, all of a sudden, like you rip a hole in your boat and
Yeah.
you are going down in a minute.
Yeah.
You can literally see 2 or 3 boats that are
Yeah. Right.
they're right there, and you just wave your hands and they come right in and get
Yeah.
you.
Right.
So,
Which is the nice thing, you know.
oh, absolutely, holy cow,
Yeah.
it definitely adds a little.
Sailors helping sailors.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
Well, because it creates a bond, I think, between the 2 groups of sailors, and
Yeah.
then
and it could be you next.
it could exactly. You got to pay that stuff forward.
Right.
That's a good
So-
point. I didn't even think about that. Karma.
Right. So
You don't want to be like, I could just see the guy who's like down there and he's hearing the Mayday call and he's just the volume click, the VHF is off and off he goes and sails and
right.
sails
I can't
directly
make
into
it
a hurricane.
That's upwind. I can't make it over there.
Mm. That's like it was the 97, 98 Vendée Globe, and Pete Goss got the call. They're in the Southern Ocean, I believe in the Pacific, and Raphael Donatelli, I'm probably murdering that name, had essentially sunk his open 60. And this was the Vendée where well before foiling boats, but
Oh, right.
they built these boats so flat and so wide that they
The Whitbread 60s were they?
I think I'm not sure exactly what classification it was, but essentially they were more stable upside down than they were right side up.
Right.
And so when they went over, they stayed over. And I don't know how far Pete Goss was ahead of them. They were in pretty ugly Southern Ocean conditions. And he got the call to turn back and go and beat into the wind for the next, 24 hours, 48 hours. And he did it.
Yeah.
And he did it in a boat designed absolutely to go straight downwind instead of. And the famous thing was that Pete was an Englishman and Raphael obviously was French. And when he got to the life raft, it's just an amazing story, but he gets to the life raft and Raphael hands up a bottle of champagne, gets this soaking wet, almost dead guy onto his boat, and Pete sits him down as an Englishman and gives him a cup of tea. Yeah, right. Such a great story. There's I don't know if you've ever read Godforsaken Sea.
No.
It's all about that 97, 98 Volvo, or not Volvo, but Vendée Globe.
Vendée Globe, yeah, right. Huh.
That was a book that definitely changed my life for sure.
Huh.
It just piqued my interest in this whole like solo Southern. I didn't even know the Southern Ocean existed at that point. But anyway, yeah. So then we get into what was it? It was July when all of a sudden the medical emergency happened.
Yep.
And we don't have to talk about it if you don't want to.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
We were out sailing and I was having trouble swallowing.
Mm-hmm.
It was very painful, and I ended up basically not eating for 4 days.
Just trying to like stoically get past
well,
it?
no, I actually didn't have any desire.
Oh, really?
It was hurt.
It was that?
Well, because you swallow it like every 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And every 20 seconds, it was pretty painful.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was popping ibuprofens like crazy, just trying to figure it out. And finally, we were over in Final Haven somewhere, and I said, Elaine, we got to get back. And actually, she did great. Coming back, we ran. Of course, we were fogged in. We were coming across the bay, and all of a sudden, it was, pea soup fog.
Yeah, right. Welcome to Maine.
Welcome to Maine. And so I was worthless. Because
was it affecting you other than just the ability to swallow, or was it?
Well, I was actually, by this point in time, I was feverish.
Oh, really?
And I was chilled. I was shaking. Had all the blankets on the boat wrapped around me.
Yeah.
And Elaine had to, she had to steer. I was basically watching the radar for her.
Yeah.
And she did everything all the way across. We actually sailed all the way across.
Good on you.
And we got here, and I said, well, let's go to the, emergency care place.
Mm-hmm.
We got up there, and he looked, and he says, I can't see anything. Of course, they did the COVID test and the strep test. And
right.
he said, here, maybe it's swimmer's ear or something. And So
Like, this is the worst case of swimmers here.
well, I was like, yeah, it could be,
Yeah, right.
and
Sort of
so-
hoping for the best, I
right,
suppose, right?
because that's what it sort of felt like. But he gives me some drops to put in, and then next we go back that night, and of course I felt bad for Elaine because I'm sitting there, I couldn't sleep either
Yeah.
because every 20 seconds I have to swallow.
Oh, right.
And
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
like, and I'm moaning and groaning and stuff. And of course, but she's got earplugs. So the next morning
She's
I
smart,
say,
yeah.
yeah.
She's a professor.
The next morning I said, we got to go to the emergency room. And so we go down to the emergency room, and it was great. They took, we were there at 9:30. They were seeing me by 10. By 11, I was talking to the ear, nose, and throat guy.
Mhm.
I'd had a CAT scan
Oh, wow.
by that point.
Well, because was there like any like lumps or anything, or was it
No,
just?
but he looked in my throat and he said, "Oh, that looks like a war zone in there."
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's not what you want to
yeah.
hear.
Well, and then so it turns out it was an abscess that got infected,
Oh, okay.
and it was behind the tonsil,
Yeah.
so they couldn't really see it. So the CAT scan showed that there was one there, and so the guy was like, "Okay," he says, "Well, the only way out of this," he says, "we gotta take the tonsil out and get in there and clean this up."
And
said,
usually they say
"Seaman's-"
that to
Yeah,
13-year-old
I know,
children.
right.
Is that when you started crying?
Well, it was just sort of like, you mean surgery? And the guy goes, yeah. And I was like, oh man, so what do you mean? Is that like a week out, and he's like, I know, he saw about 2 o'clock.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because typically there's an issue, they'll jump right
Well,
on it,
yeah,
right?
but I mean, I wasn't like life or death or anything, but although I hadn't eaten in 4 days.
Yeah, right.
But
I was withering away.
yeah, I hadn't eaten or
Maybe
slept
that
in
helped.
4
Maybe they
days.
looked at you and they were like, "This guy's eyes were sunk in the back of his
Well,
head."
it's like every 20 seconds I'd be,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
and
know
so
that
I think they
feeling.
pretty much figured out that I was in pain.
Yeah.
But anyway, 2 o'clock came, they put me down. I had surgery. I spent a night in the hospital. So
Good to
and
go.
then it
Bob's
was,
your uncle.
and it was good to go. Yeah.
Wow. And so
And
they remove your tonsils and they remove the abscess?
yeah, they drained the abscess.
Oh, they drain it. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And they pumped me so full of antibiotics. It wasn't funny.
Oh, I'm sure, right? Yeah. Oy, oy, oy.
And
But that there's two things about that scare me. One is that I've always wondered what it would be like to have something like that happen way offshore,
Yeah,
middle of
right,
the ocean,
right.
let alone Southern Ocean.
Yeah.
When I went on that first trip, I didn't have any antibiotics or anything.
Right.
It was just an oversight. And even on the subsequent trips, I really didn't take
It's
any
hard
out
to
there.
get antibiotics
very hard.
unless you have a problem.
In the United States, I called, I called some of the urgent care places and the clinics around here and explained my situation. And they basically said, you're out of luck.
Yeah. They won't do it.
Yeah. So I don't know, besides a trip up to Canada to go get some,
Yeah.
'cause I'm pretty sure you can probably buy them in a store there. But that's one thing that's always sort of worried me. But truth be told, I'm a bit of like a hypochondriac. So anytime I get the slightest like pain or this or that happens, instantly my brain starts just flying in every worst case scenario. Was that happening with you at all?
No, no, I'm definitely not that way. In fact, the only drug I take is, I don't take anything actually. I took like a half dozen ibuprofens, which was more than I'd taken in the last 2 years combined.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I just don't take anything like that.
I desperately try not to, even if Friday night, Murph and I are hanging out and
No,
it gets a
yeah.
little too crazy. If I have a headache in the morning,
Yeah.
I will suffer through it rather than
You
take
just got to
any
feel
sort
your
of.
pain. That's my,
Well, yeah, because it's your body telling you
right,
something,
exactly.
and I don't know. Not that I'm doling out medical advice. If anybody was taking my medical advice, I'd question their
Sanity.
Yeah.
That's right.
But yeah, it is one of those things I've always felt like
Yeah.
you don't want to cover that up because it's your body communicating to you.
Right.
So
But yeah, at the same time, I don't know. This potentially had the potential to get very bad.
yeah,
The infection was spreading fairly rapidly at this point. So we caught it at a very good time.
Yeah, we were pretty worried here in the yard, and Elaine was really she handled it pretty well. I mean, I had talked to her and said, well, let us know if you want rides out to the boat and back or
Yeah.
anything like that. They gave me the keys to the launch boat for a couple of days, and she was like, nah. I think she was kind of like, I got the boat to myself.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, truth be told,
Yeah.
I had to row into the emergency room.
Well, hey, you know, I don't want to get in the middle of it, because when she listens to this,
Yeah.
I still want to make sure we're good friends.
Yeah.
And that being said, now, if I were to retell the story of you guys coming back from the island through the fog, I would maybe throw in a squall or two, maybe a container ship that crossed the bow that Elaine is honking the horn at and telling me, get out of the way, and, you know, wind blowing her hair back, sort of stuff.
Yeah, there you go.
That's how I envision it. And, you know,
As long as she would row me in, that's
as long as she'll row you in. Yeah, no, she called ahead and just powered right into the slip. We hauled you up to
That's
deck
right.
level. You get off, and then we put it right back
There
down.
you go.
That's how I envision it. Oh man. Well, so what else? You've packed up the boat. It's pretty much winterized at this point.
Oh yeah, we
We're on
still
the
had,
hard.
we went down to Casco Bay
Oh yeah.
for a week and stuff. We spent a week down with the Cape Dory Owners Association.
Oh, that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. So that's like a little bit of a rendezvous
Yeah,
sort of thing. How many boats were there?
I think we had 6 or 7.
Oh, nice.
We met a
good crowd.
guy down at Buston's Island, which is outside of Freeport.
Okay.
He had a cabin there, and he threw us a lobster dinner fest, and
Lovely.
then turned around the next morning and invited us in for blueberry pancakes.
Tell you, these Mainers, they're just salt of the earth there,
I know.
aren't they?
It's just amazing. And then, you know, we did the whole Casco Bay thing and stuff. And
Well, and when you guys do these rendezvous, is there like sort of I almost equate it to like a car show where everybody sort of cleans their boats so that everybody can go on each other's boats, check out the little intricacies that everybody's done?
It hasn't really been that way in the past, but this year it was. You know, we invite people onto our boat and stuff, and sometimes we've had as many as 10 or 12 boats, which then gets hard to have, you know, 25 people on your boat.
Well, I just think, because I know, from what I understand, and obviously West sailors we're on the very far edge of that spectrum of a little bit crazy, a little fanatical, all that. But from what I understand, when a West Sail group gets together, I mean, it's literally like you're trying to show your boat off, and you know, everybody's boats are open. You can just go in and start poking around. And
well, that's kind of what I would like. And
right.
In fact, I run through. It's a standard thing. I run through the boat want ads, boat listings online, just to run through the pictures.
Oh, really? Looking at other Cape Dories.
Cape Dories. Anybody. So West Sails I look at.
Oh.
Just see, what are these people doing? You know, how do they do this?
How does mine chalk up? Now, it's in the yard. It's always a little torn apart.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
Great. Thanks.
Actually,
it's fine.
We looked at one.
It's fine. All right, this podcast was great. Thanks, Russ.
We looked at one that was absolutely gorgeous. The guy had spent 20 years. He was a cabinet maker.
Oh, wow.
Everything was gorgeous.
Yeah.
In this boat. But then he died before he ever put it in the water.
Oh.
And so these people bought it. They sailed it for a year down in Boston, and then we were looking at it.
Oh, that was the one you guys were looking at.
It was one we were looking at. The trouble was it had a Volvo, a 7 horsepower Volvo.
7?
Yeah, a 1 lung Volvo.
Oh, wow.
And I said, will that even move the boat? She said, oh, yeah, it pushes the boat great. I was like, yeah, no.
No way. 7.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
A 1 lung Volvo.
Yeah, right.
And I was just like, yeah, no, sorry.
No, thank you. Well, the one that's over there, Jura.
Yeah.
Is gorgeous down below.
Oh, really?
Oh, it just, you know, the Sparrow is very, very different from any West Sail I've ever been on as far as
well, they were mostly owner finished.
Well, yeah, and they're mostly completely covered in wood, so it's like a dungeon down below.
Yeah.
which normally I sort of like. I mean, obviously, hence all the blacked out portholes and stuff. But there's something that after I looked at about 4 or 5 of them in search for this boat, when I hopped on this one and it was like light
Yeah.
white and with the trim and stuff, I just thought to myself, holy cow, this is way different.
Yeah.
Way different.
Yeah.
So I definitely like this. But his is like on a whole different level. I mean, with the ceiling alone, it's sort of the cross beams, and then the white that's up there has, you know, it's sort of like ribbed, and it's just old classic. But all of his, for his engine room, you move the stairs and there's an actual door, and it's like soundproof, and he has. I could go on and on. I was hoping to have Paul on here at some point, but I don't think he wanted to. Maybe I'll still be able to convince him. Who knows? Because his boat is, it's the most beautiful representation of a West Sail I've ever seen. It's gorgeous down below, absolutely gorgeous.
So that's on mine is all teak. The inside is everything is teak, but I don't find it that dark. You know, because we don't cover the portholes,
right,
or anything like that. We have a hatch right here in the middle.
Oh, you've got is it one of those butterfly ones?
No,
or whatever
God,
they call it?
I would never do
the
that.
the leakiest things in the world.
Those things leak, no matter what.
Oh my
says.
gosh, yeah.
No, it's a regular Bomar hatch, you know.
Right,
and stuff.
But it is, you know, that's a nice little skylight. I mean, I really just came up with these, you know, being in the marina, and you know. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but like people come to see this boat.
Yeah, right.
And so there'd be a lot of times. I remember the first couple of years I was down south, and I'd be, you know, down here doing my thing, you know, working on the computer, whatever, and all I'm seeing is legs going by, and then eyeballs sort of peering in.
Right.
And I used to just put I had boxer shorts because I tried to make curtains, but they fall away too far, and all that stuff. But even when I'm out at sea, if during the day I want to sleep, when I'm sailing, I'll plug them all up, and it's nice and dark down here.
Yeah. Well, we spend most of our time out in the cockpit anyway, so.
Oh, see, I spend most of my time down below.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Well, see, since we put our tiller in, our cockpit is huge.
Yes, that is true. Because you used to have
the binnacle smack in the middle.
Yeah, it takes up all the space, right?
Yeah. So.
Yeah. But I always, it's so funny. Like boats are little houses. They're tiny homes essentially.
Yeah.
But they're just like, I don't know. There's something a little extra cool about them. I don't know what it is.
Well, there's no straight lines.
So so
and it moves, and the boat flexes and stuff. So your normal cabinet maker stuff just plain doesn't work.
I'll tell you. How much noise does your make if you get into sort of semi-rough conditions where the boat's like going through the chop or whatever? How much noise does the wood joinery make?
It's creaking like a bastard.
My dad one time described Mighty Sparrow. It sounded like a popcorn maker, he said. Now this was in the early days. It's worked itself pretty much quiet, but oh gosh. Well, as we get in to the 50-minute range here.
Okay.
I did want to hit up a little bit about what you do to winterize your boat, because your boat's going to stay here throughout the cold Maine winter, the snow, the ice, the freezing temperatures. What sort of stuff do you do to make sure that, you know, in the springtime when you open it back up, it's not a horror show?
The very best thing I can tell you to do is make a list.
I always say that, Russ.
You know, make a checklist, and because that way you won't forget anything. Because nothing is worse than getting home and saying, "Oh, did I turn off the propane?"
Yeah, right.
And it's a 6-hour drive, and I'm like, I don't really want to drive over there just for that.
At least you've got the phone number of this guy right here. Right. You can run over and
but still, you know, you shouldn't have to do that. But
so make a list.
We make a list, and then basically we winterize the motor. You know,
which is running antifreeze through it.
Change the oil, run antifreeze through it. There's just a guy in the yard this afternoon. He came up to me and he was asking, he says, "I've heard," he says, "this is my first year having to decommission a keel boat."
Mm-hmm.
He said, and he says, "and somebody told me that you should disconnect the coupling and grease it." and leave it disconnected for the winter. And I was
Of
like,
the prop shaft
the
to the
prop shaft.
transmission?
and I was like, what?
Oh,
I said, basically, you only want to do that if you have to.
right. Yeah, because that's kind of a tedious little job
it's
there.
it's a pain just to get in there and do it.
I
and stuff.
wonder what would
Unless he,
necessitate that.
well, the only thing I can think of is if he misunderstood what the guy was saying.
Right.
But
Because the hull shape isn't going to change drastically enough with the temperature change
no,
that it's going to
although
deform.
the boats
They do
are a different
change.
shape.
Oh, yeah.
On shore, yeah,
100%.
and stuff. But
So winterize the engine.
winterize the engine, yeah. Then basically we take
Winterize the water tanks.
winterize the water tanks, take all the water out, pour antifreeze in, run antifreeze up through the faucets.
Put it in the toilet.
And I have a composting toilet, so I don't have to do that.
Well, empty that then at
Right,
least.
empty that, clean it
Crying out loud. Can you imagine leaving that in there?
up. No. Well, I could tell you a story. But
Oh, do tell, Russ. Do tell.
our boat has a integral holding tank.
What does that mean?
It's integral to the hull. It's in the bilge.
You can't actually.
I can't actually take it out.
Right.
And after owning the boat for a couple of years, I decided to open it to see what was in there.
Surprise, surprise.
And yeah, no, that was not pleasant.
I'll bet.
And I actually had to pump it out because there was about 6 inches of old sewage and stuff.
Geez.
And I didn't really want it to freeze.
Years and years old.
Yeah, who knows how old it was. But anyway, then we basically take anything that's remotely edible off.
Yeah, because you don't want critters. Yeah.
Critters come in, and then.
So if it's not in a glass jar, it's got to go.
Yeah. If it's not sealed up somehow. But even then, it's just like, it's just easier to bring it all home.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and then it's just like clean it up and put a cover on it and, I take off all the electronics that I can take off the boat.
That are like plug and play sort of
Right.
things.
Basically just don't leave anything behind for anybody to think is valuable.
Yeah.
So, because, that does happen that people get on other people's boats.
Any boatyard, no matter how well protected, is always going to be vulnerable to somebody popping in. I mean, luckily there are people that live here,
right?
Essentially, and so that does help. But I mean, the wintertime, it's not like they're making the rounds every hour.
Well, right.
Let me go check Russ's boat again. I thought I saw some footprints.
Right. Well, that's what if I saw footprints in the snow, that's what I would say. What's going on here? But fortunately, I haven't had any real problems with that.
Yeah.
But,
you ever thought about getting one of those like Ring doorbell things?
I need an internet connection.
Oh, you do, don't you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I have thought about it.
Right.
I keep begging for somebody to point because there's several webcams. Hotel 250 has a webcam on the top of it.
Yeah.
The Breakwater has a webcam.
I'll get one for night.
I just wish somebody up here would put a webcam up so that I could see the boat.
Yeah, right.
And every once in a while, Celia takes a picture of the yard.
Yeah.
And I keep like blowing it up, trying to see if I can see my boat.
Oh, well, hey, that is, and this is something I've given away for free, but now all of a sudden I'm thinking, boy, this could be a service that I give to people. When you take off, I could do a weekly, like little Friday 30-second walk around video.
There you go.
$19.95. I got a PayPal account. That's fine.
There you go. The only trouble is by the time I really need it, you're not here.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, who knows? Let's see how things go with this boat. There's definitely a slight chance that I might be wintering over in Maine.
Really?
Who knows? I don't know. We'll have to sort of see.
But you're not going to stay on the boat, I hope.
If I was able to find a job like lobstering or doing something, then yeah, I probably would try to.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's possible. I think what I would get is some sort of, I'd probably cover it.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I think just by covering it, I could go get a few things of insulation and just roll those out on the deck.
Yeah, it's very cold.
Very cold. Oh yeah.
It's not that it's very cold outside.
It's cold.
But like the bilge
everything.
gets cold.
Yeah.
And so that means your feet are cold.
Oh, yeah.
And it's
Well, I'm sure I would probably disappear off to Michigan for a few of those months, maybe,
right.
December through April,
Right.
the winter.
Well, it wouldn't be that hard to find somebody, willing to share an apartment or something like that, I would
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
so we'll see. I don't know.
Or
I
even, here, who knows if they
can go
have
bunk up with
or
Murph.
come
We'll
hook up with
throw
Murph.
some bunk beds in there.
That's right.
I only pay for my rent in brain cells.
There you go.
Love you, Murph.
But
No. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Hopefully all will go well and I will
Yeah.
be able to
Yeah.
dart south in
Right.
some direction.
But yeah, I cover the boat.
Yeah, and what is the thinking behind that? Is it mostly just to keep the sunlight and the wear and tear and the ice
Just
and
keep
all
the
that?
snow and ice off of it. I'm never really sure. I've always covered my boat, but I see plenty of people that don't.
Yeah.
And they're just as well off in the spring as I am.
Yeah,
So,
well, I've always thought of it as my biggest concern with Sparrow would be the footwell, the scuppers getting plugged, fills with snow, melts, fills with snow, melts, turns into ice, and then actually a big brick of ice forms in there and it can maybe do some damage.
well, I've seen cockpits were one big solid chunk of ice.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a little unnerving, but I have heard about, emptying a bag of salt or just throwing a bag of rock salt in there.
Yeah,
The
but
yard used to, I remember the first year I was up here early, and that was one of the things I saw, like 3 or 4 places where, yeah, it was obvious that somebody had dumped their rock salt
oh, really?
bag, just throwing it right overboard,
Huh.
here in the yard. And I was like, no, what is that? Salt bag. But,
Oh, they just trying to melt the ice off there.
yeah, right. But I don't know. I think more of it. I think covering a boat up here really is just, I don't know, protecting it from the constant UV of 7 months
Nah,
of
see,
sun.
the thing is, there is no UV up here in the wintertime.
Well, but you're still getting it. I mean, it's
Yeah,
still...
but no, if you look on the UV index on the paper, like right now, a sunny day right now will have a UV index of 2.
Oh, right. Yeah,
so
it's not like Michigan when it really gets cold and that sun is blazing.
no, but
It's
even in
nuclear.
Michigan, I assume that even in the wintertime that you were facing the wrong way.
Oh, right, because we're so far north. Yeah. I didn't think about that.
And we're facing the opposite way from the sun.
Well, I've gotten some severe sunburns
Oh,
when I
yeah.
was younger up there.
Well,
In
skiing,
the wintertime,
you get
the reflection
you
too.
get the reflection, but basically there is not much in the way of UV. Like my cover, will last years because it just doesn't get
It
UV.
just doesn't get
But
it.
I don't like leaving it. You get into April or May, and then you start getting sun.
Oh, and you come up and just take it off?
Come up in April and get it off.
Party with Murph and then
That's
you're out?
right. I do.
Nice. That's
I did
awesome.
last April. It was 30 degrees when I was
What
up
a
there.
life you lead, guy. I love it.
Well, the ski area ends, and I said, okay, time to go to see the boat now.
Are you working for them again this year?
Yes, I will.
Nice. Now, what do you do out there?
I work in the lift shack.
Nice.
That's
Lifty.
me.
Good man.
That's my lift shack, right?
Top or
there.
bottom?
Well, this is the mid station.
Oh, mid-station,
Yeah,
middle guy.
Middle guy. This is the second best view on the mountain. That's why I picked this spot.
Nobody's gunning after your position, but you're still above that other guy. Although I've always found my favorite, as I was a lifty at up in Michigan for a bit, and then I was a lifty out in Montana for a few months one year, and all the actions at the bottom.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And you can be a showman.
Oh,
You
yeah.
got to get vocal.
Yeah.
We used to operate, my favorite lift ever was, it was an old school one, so it was slow, but it was a 4-person, and the people came in from both sides.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So if you were not controlling the situation,
Yeah.
this was before electric gates or any
yeah,
of that.
Yeah, I know.
If you weren't controlling the situation, people's brains were not
yeah.
in their heads.
Well,
And
I'll tell you one thing about skiing. The last thing people do before they leave to go on a ski trip, take their brain out and put it in their beer.
No offense to our skiing listeners. We love you. Very intelligent people. No, but I can remember it was probably the most boring job in the world. And at the same time, it could be the most exciting job.
Well,
but
we have the thing where, I mean, I work only in the top shacks now
Mhm.
because I'm almost 70 years old. I don't need the wear and tear on my body.
Yeah, you got a little kid come up and shovel the ramp for you?
Yeah, right.
Do you?
No.
Oh. You get
I
that
still
when you're
shovel more
80.
snow than
Yeah.
most people.
Good exercise.
But now I forgot where I was going.
Oh, sorry. Well, you're up there. You only work the top.
Yeah. Well, but normally, like, I used to be the manager, so I used to pick where people went.
Oh.
And we would have people scheduled for the top, and then after a couple of weeks, they'd start to get what we call the shack whack. You know, they just start doing goofy stuff up there,
right.
you
Yeah,
know, and
yeah.
it's just like, oh, you know, and then it's like you realize, okay, you know, this kid's doing something really goofy. Okay, it's time for him to hit the bottom now.
Needs a little interaction with the
Right.
public. Yeah.
Needs to go somewhere where somebody can, you can talk to somebody.
Whack. Oh, God. Oh, shoot. Well, you know, it's so funny because after I had done that job for a little while, and then you go back and you go skiing somewhere else and you're not working, you sort of look at the guys and you know, I always engage with every lifty now, like hardcore, way more than anybody ever should, because I've been there, and it's pretty funny. And I don't know, it's definitely interesting. And I'm always very aware when you go past and you get off the lift. I always give it a little sniff, like,
oh, jeez.
what's going on in that lift shack there? Somebody smoking a little devil's lettuce going on up there? My safety's at stake.
That's what I used to say. We're there to save you from yourself.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, man. Well, Russ, I wish you the best winter in Vermont, and I will absolutely keep an eye on your boat.
Okay.
And if you want that service, again, $19.95, just a Jerome Rand PayPal. Once a week, you get a 30-second video, and I'll email it directly to you.
Okay.
But I don't know. You've been on the podcast twice now.
Yep. Going to become a veteran.
You are what we would classify as a friend of the show.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'll be up here. There is part of me that wants to do another launch season, because that's just fun. The haul out season for me is not the best.
Yeah.
It's a little different.
Yeah, a little sadder.
Yeah, I'd say, you know, the dream has come to an end. You know, you can see in people's eyes they didn't do what they wanted to. You know, they didn't. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, who knows? Hopefully our paths will cross again. But it's been awesome having you on the show, and I think you've brought quite a bit of wisdom. And some experience and just a dash of humor. You're a great guy, and I do appreciate it.
Well, no problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
It's been fun.